Welcome everyone to the Panos Marketing Media Planning webinar. My name is Lauren Irish. I work in the Client Services Department as an account coordinator, and I work with a handful of clients at the moment who are actively planning their social media strategy as well as their paid media strategy for 2023. And while this can feel like an overwhelming task in an ever-changing financial environment, we have none other than the fabulous Kailyn and Abby here from our media team to help guide us and answer some questions to help everyone get started. So I'll go ahead and let them make some introductions and we can start this discussion.
Thanks, Lauren. Hi, everyone. I'm Kailyn Gallagher. I'm the media manager here at Panos. I work with the media team on all of our paid channels, so all of the digital and traditional media for all of our clients.
Lovely. And I'm Abby Fitzgerald. I also work in the media department as a digital strategist, mainly focusing on paid avenues and also organic performance.
Awesome. Thank you, guys. So to kick things off, clients obviously come to agencies for help with media because it's so complex. Can you start off by breaking down where you even start? Like if I wanted to run an advertising campaign, what do I need to consider?
Absolutely. So I completely understand. Media is very complex because there are so many different avenues a user can take. Also, I just want to apologize in advance if you can hear clicking. It's just the heater in the background. But to dive in a little bit further, the most important aspect for media planning is to break it down. The way we like to usually break it down is starting with, what's the purpose? What is the main purpose of this campaign that you're running? What are you trying to do? Who are you trying to reach? And once you start to understand what the purpose is, you can kind of start to understand what your goal will be. Usually we recommend using a quantifiable goal, a goal that you can count, such as leads, loan applications, account openings, things that are quantifiably able to help your business succeed. From there, it's understanding what's the priority. Okay, you have your idea of what your goals are, who you want to reach. Is budget going to be a large impacting factor for you? Are there certain aspects of the campaign that you really need to have met to meet your goals as a business, as a financial institution? So really understanding those three core concepts will help you understand where you need to go within your media planning journey. From that as well, it's also very important to do market research. So you have your goals, you know what you want your campaign to speak to. How do you know it's going to be received well? So what we usually would do is we run trends in your specific geographic location to say, okay, are users even searching for this at this specific period of time? Something that we see quite often is credit cards in the winter because it's the holiday season. People are very interested in getting a good credit card rate while they're starting to rack up their bills. Or in the spring when home improvement is a really hot topic, HELOC campaigns are usually a go-to. So understanding what's happening in your market and what trends are going to impact that will really help you define what your media plan should look like, and also what avenues, what platforms, what types of ads, whether it's print, digital ads. There's a lot of aspects that have to go into it, but really just starting with those three main sectors of what's the purpose, what's the goal, and what are your main priorities.
Awesome. Thanks, Ab. Now, quickly touching on budgets. Sometimes they feel absolutely insane, overwhelming. How can we determine what is a good budget to set for 2023 and moving forward?
Absolutely. We get this question a lot. And if you don't know where to start, planning budgets can be really daunting. So this goes back to what Abby was talking about with doing the market research. So having a good understanding of what the interest level in your market is for whatever product you're trying to promote. And then also seeing what are people paying for that. You can find with search trends how much the average company is paying for someone to click on their ad. So from there, once you have an idea of what the volume of interest is and kind of the average cost, you can start backing in to see, okay, this is around what I can expect to pay. And based off the total volume, you want to make sure that you are having a budget that's large enough to have an impact. So we are well aware that financial institutions don't have unlimited budget for paid media. And there are some companies like, the Quicken Loans and the Lending Trees of the world who spend a ton of money, and not all companies have that. So when you're looking at your specific markets and you have what that total volume of search impressions are, or, just your general audience, getting to a budget, looking for a certain impression share, a certain share of voice, that means your ads are going to be seen enough without killing your budget. Because could you spend millions of dollars? Absolutely, it's possible, but for what cost? What's that going to do for you? So making sure, finding that balance that, you're having a budget that's going to give you enough of a share of voice, and, making sure that you have enough percent of the total market that's available.
Yeah, and actually a question that I hear pretty frequently from clients is they're first of all, they're concerned that their budget's going to run out too quickly and not last the duration of the campaign. How should they tackle this, and what can like an agency like Panos Marketing do to assist with that?
Yeah, so that's a really great question. And when you understand how the platforms work, it's not going to happen. So when you are setting up a campaign, whether it's on search or if you're running a social campaign, you set a start date and an end date, and then you have a set budget. And these platforms and their algorithms are smart enough to know, okay, this budget has to last the entire campaign, so it's going to spend so much per day. So making sure that you have enough budget so that you don't run out too soon in the day, that's key. You want to make sure that your ads can run throughout the entire day for whenever there's a qualified impression, but you're not going to run out before the end of the planned campaign period. When you have that start and end date, that's how long your campaign is going to run. It's just a matter of how much budget you're spending throughout the day.
Awesome. Yeah, I think based on our conversations too internally is that we review these on a daily basis, not just weekly or monthly, and just making sure that we're making adjustments where they're needed to hit that moving target that is budget.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. We are looking at performance every single day. We have people hands-on keywords in each of the platform looking and making adjustments because your campaigns run on different devices, whether it's a desktop, whether it's a mobile phone, whether it's tablet, running on different types of inventory, and also different websites. So making sure that we have a pulse on where it's running and making optimizations so that we are spending money in the most appropriate places.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you, Kailyn. So obviously marketing is an investment into a business, and advertising is a big piece of that. How can our clients and how can other financial institutions make sure that it's doing what it needs to do?
It's a great question. It kind of leads into what Kailyn was just saying.
Yeah.
Analyzation is very important. No sort of digital campaign or really any sort of marketing avenue should be a set it and forget it. You put it in, you're done, walk away, check it in a month. There's no way that that would be effective in today's market in the digital age. So what we do, kind of what Kailyn was just saying, we check our campaigns on a minimum of a bi-weekly basis. We are always in campaigns ensuring that we're maximizing our conversions, that we have the best keywords in place to trigger the most accurate searches, and also reaching the most accurate and effective audience that's most likely to convert. So there's a lot of different aspects that you do need to analyze on a daily, weekly, and monthly basis to get an understanding of, okay, is my campaign doing what I anticipated? Is it following the trends that I did my research on? Something though you do have to take into consideration is, okay, your ad's performing great. You're getting users to see your ads. They're clicking on it. They're going to the landing page. And then that's it. There's no conversions that are happening. Users aren't getting to the next step in that funnel. And to us, usually that means A, you need to adjust your creative. Some adaptation needs to happen to that campaign. But sometimes it's a landing page issue. Is your landing page up to SEO standards? Does Google even feel, or really any sort of search engine, do they feel that it's a qualifiable page to even bring users to? Mm-hmm. So there's a lot of, it's like a tri-fold, 20-fold situation of analyzing, is your campaign performing? But then even farther than that, are users getting to the goal? are you giving them a good experience for them to complete whatever said lead, application, account opening, whatever your goal may be? Are users even getting to that?
Yeah, I agree. It's like a full circle kind of moment where setting those goals and those main CTAs, like first of all, what's the goal here? How do we want users to convert? And then making sure that we're tracking that conversion and it's set up correctly, which is why it's also important to have your website properly set up for SEO, because that only will help your digital campaigns run even more fluently. To think of the word. So part of that same conversation, Abby, is like, what would be some of the best practices around tracking campaign performance? And I'll also leave this up to you, Kailyn, too, both of you.
Yeah, definitely. So this goes back to what you're saying, you want to be, ideally you would be looking at your campaigns daily, but not all companies have the bandwidth to do that. So really at a minimum, you should be looking at it a couple of times a week to make sure that everything is still on track, that your campaign is still spending, that you're still seeing, impressions and clicks come through, and that your click-through rate is not declining. You want to make sure that your campaign is still performing well, making sure that you are seeing conversions come in, making sure that, week over week when you're looking at it, ideally that the campaign is improving, if not just staying the same and holding performance. When you start seeing performance start to take a downward turn, you want to be looking, okay, what's going wrong here? But assuming that everything is going well, as far as tracking your campaign, you want to check again, make sure that your kind of the high level metrics, your click-through rate and your conversions, that those are staying good consistently. And then if you have run other paid campaigns previously, seeing how you're doing compared to your own historical performance. Your own performance is going to be your best indicator for success. For some companies who are really just starting to dip their toe into paid media, there are industry benchmarks that you can look at and use directionally, but you want to be cautious with how you're doing that. So benchmarks, that there's things that come into play here that factor what those benchmarks are and why you may or may not be aligning with them. So industry benchmarks are going to depend on the vertical, it's going to depend on company spends, and it's going to depend on the market that they're in. So I mentioned, some of the giants like Quicken Loans before, where they're spending tons of money and they are in every market, where, a smaller community bank, they're going to have different performance. They're running something very different and you're going to see different results from it. So you want to measure yourself against your own performance, and making sure that, you're taking learnings from previous campaigns and applying them to new campaigns so that you are performing better each time. And then when it comes to, tracking conversions on your website, like Abby was mentioning, making sure that your website is performing well, you want to make sure that, people are spending time on your site, that people from your paid ads are making it to your site and that they're staying there, making sure that Google is serving your ads up to people who are qualified audience for you, or any channel, whether it's social or programmatic, making sure that when people get there, they are engaging with your content, that they aren't just getting there and leaving. That's not something you want to be seeing there. So making sure that you are able to track everything that people are doing on your landing pages or on your website is going to help give you a better idea of what your customer's user journey is. So they get to your page, are they clicking to contact you? Are they clicking to download a white paper? Are they trying to apply for a new account? So when you have all of those different items tracked, you can then see, okay, you know what, people from our search ads are really more interested in applying for our account, but people coming from display are, maybe less sure, and they are clicking to contact us. So when you have an idea of what your users and your customers from each ad type are doing, you can then help shift and optimize your campaigns and your creatives to help each of those channels perform better for you in the future.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. And like you had said, tracking is key. So setting it up for success is setting it up and making sure that everything is connected and translates over well to your reporting or whatever tool you use for tracking your website traffic. It's funny you brought that up though, Kailyn, that paying attention to what people are doing once they get to your ad, because I had a client recently that was serving ads for a specific product, but you could see that when they clicked through that ad and made it to the website, they were researching a completely different product. So one ad was leading to kind of conversions for another, and it was very interesting to see. And if we didn't have that set up correctly to track that lead through, or to track that, I would say, the user through their customer journey, we wouldn't have known that. So key element there.
To speak upon that, understanding how users are interacting with your website is just as valuable as getting them to that website. Kind of how both of you were saying that if someone came for your ad to apply for a credit card, but then they got to that landing page and top CTA is open an account, open your credit card, but they're not ready for that. And they have to go down, maybe contact someone to help them guide them through. Maybe they're going to continue searching on your site. That lets you know we're not giving enough information right at the top of this page. We need to adjust the copy to help users get through their journey, to help them understand what their next steps should be in order to get them comfortable enough to open an account.
Instead of just leaving the page altogether and not capturing that information.
Exactly. So sometimes when you're not seeing your top CTA be the main driving conversion source, it's telling you something completely different about your audience that you would not have known if you weren't tracking that page.
Right. Yeah, no, and completely agree. And I want to kind of circle back to on reporting and the campaigns that we were discussing and how we track those. But how do we know if they're successful? Like, high impressions are great. Click-through rate is going up. It's great. There's going to be those normal fluctuations and also seasonal fluctuations as well. Reviewing KPIs and reporting and all these numbers. But at the end of the day, what is the best data that's going to be reviewed, and in order to make those decisions to see if you should keep running that campaign, stopping it, pausing it, adjusting it? Where do we go from there?
Yeah, I think a lot of it is, are you seeing it translate into new customers? You know, if you're promoting checking accounts and, you know, you have really great CTAs and you have really great time on your website and people are clicking to open an account, but you're not actually seeing those new accounts come through, something's going wrong. So you have to be able to follow it all the way through and see, okay, are we actually getting what we set out to get? Has there been an increase in new accounts open? Has there been an increase in new mortgages come through? Or, you know, whatever that goal is, and identifying that early, you know, in your planning process is key. But making sure that all of your applications are working well for your customers. You know, it could be a really great application, but if it's too long or it has too many questions or it's not working for your potential customer, then it's not really working for you. Right. And that's something that Abby has a lot of experience with.
Yeah, I have. Sorry, Abby, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, I completely agree. It's great that you're getting users through the ad to the landing page, they're in that application, and then they drop off. You spent all of that time, effort, and money just to have it drop off with something that could be easily adjusted to just suit what that user's experience should be and what they anticipate the experience to be. If you're not meeting those expectations, you've missed out on that opportunity. And going from what Kailyn was saying, success is relative. Obviously, you want to see great click-through rates, super high impressions in quotations. Impressions they're not the most important metric, but clicks are very critical. Having that high click-through rate, having users on your landing page, they're interacting. Those are all fantastic metrics. And as Kailyn was saying, base them off yourself. How did you perform previously? Benchmarks are fantastic, but they're not going to tell you about that one specific campaign in your specific target area with your specific budget for your specific audience. So really understanding yourself and what your goals and metrics are in order to analyze, okay, did we do what we thought we were going to do? If not, how can we change? And something that I always want to put out there, you can't just give a campaign 1 month. You can't let it run for a month, analyze it, be like, we didn't get 400 application submissions. Never mind, turn it off. That's not fair. It takes the algorithm some time. You have to build that algorithm back end to say, who do I want to meet? Who's the most valuable? Reach them. But that takes time. So setting your media plan up for maybe to have these campaigns run for a few months, a few quarters, and really understand the trends in that market and how it can impact you in the future.
Yeah,
that's really where a lot of that. Oh, sorry, Lauren, go ahead.
I was going to say, it's really important to give the campaign a chance to live and to grow. Yes. Like any good things take time. And I see a lot of clients, after the first month, they're like, okay, it's not performing well. Like, what do we do? And we're so hesitant sometimes to just be like, keep it going. Like, why do we need to change anything up? Give it a couple months, let it find its tune. And then if certain things need to be adjusted, that's when we would go ahead and adjust it. A big piece to running a campaign, giving it that length to live, instead of just kicking it off the cliff and saying, we'll try something else. And a big opportunity there is setting the campaign up to run like on a quarterly, semi-annually, or even just full-on annually basis. You're still able to make adjustments throughout that time. You don't need to completely shut down a campaign and say, oh, mortgage wasn't working for the first quarter, so let's take it down. You can update the creative. You can plan to refresh it to match some seasonality trends, and then be able to look at that data and compare it to last year's. Say you're running a summer campaign for something and you ran it last year. You have both those groups of data to be able to compare and contrast and be able to plan for your next year. But keeping all of that data at the ready is the most important. So you're able to make those decisions for next year and the year after, and paying attention to those trends too.
Yeah, absolutely.
And even if you don't have any historical data, maybe you haven't run ads before, and this is a whole entire new avenue for you to go down, that's okay. Still to continue to give yourself time in order to understand and analyze the campaign. Like Lauren said, if there is something going wrong in the campaign, maybe keywords aren't performing, headlines are just not meeting the search criteria, adjust it, get rid of it, change it out, whatever, but don't stop the campaign. Once you stop that campaign, you disrupt that whole algorithm. You want to start it up, you're starting fresh. So it's a much better avenue to just go with the flow. And if it is your first year doing media planning, really starting off with, let me set a whole entire year-long campaign, a 6-month campaign, to really understand what my market's doing and how my market performs. Not just, search trends are critical, obviously, but it's even more important to know who your audience is and how they interact online.
Yeah, a big part is gathering that data and then taking that data to plan for what works and what doesn't and what your goals are, and then being able to set up that budget. It's all a big circle. It's all a circle.
All cyclical.
Awesome. Well, we wanted to open up the floor to any attendees to see if there were any questions or any hot items you wanted to chat about on our webinar today. So feel free to throw them in the webinar chat box and make sure to share them with the groups. I will repeat any questions too if you want to share them with me directly. So I'll give you guys like a couple seconds in case you want to add them in there.
Well, maybe people are writing questions. Just want to note, media planning is overwhelming. It is not something that you can just throw it in and hope that it goes well. It definitely is something that takes time and analysis. And obviously Panos is here to assist in any of those assistances moving forward. Sorry, I was just reading a message.
Oh yeah, it looks like the chat might be unavailable. Well, oh, we do have a chat. Awesome. Abby, were you going to finish I'll read the question if you'd like, or you can finish your thought.
Sure, you read that question.
Okay. Kristen asked, how are you tracking where the leads come from and how the ads are performing in the journey on the website. Dashboards from the platforms or Google Analytics?
That is a fantastic question. So first off, to answer the first part of the question of how we're tracking leads, something that we always do is we add UTM codes to any sort of link that we are advertising. So a UTM code is an urgent tracking mechanism. And basically it's a long string of information on the end of a URL saying, what was the source? So did it come from a Google campaign? Was it a search campaign? And from those parameters, you're actually able to see that inside Google Analytics if you change one of your metrics to show your source/media. So you can see, okay, 700 page views came from SEM, 400 came from display, and that's all based on your UTM codes. So I highly, highly recommend using UTM codes to really definitively say what campaigns are performing well and what are not. Kailyn, do you have anything you want to add to that?
I think that really covers it. I mean, making sure that you know where your traffic is coming from, because I mean, you could be having a ton of traffic coming from display ads, but they're not spending any time on your website. So that's going to give you a good indicator that something might be wrong here, and will give you something to look into as far as your targeting goes.
Awesome. Kristen, we hope we answered your question, but if not, and you have more questions, feel free to email anyone on the team. Our emails are pretty standard. It's our first initial of our first name and our full last name at panosmarketing.com. So for example, mine would be Irish, IRISH at panosmarketing.com. And also feel free to contact us. You can find our phone number on our website, panosmarketing.com, Panos, P-A-N-N-O-S, marketing.com. Thank you all again for attending. We hope you all enjoyed it, and we hope to hear from you all soon. And thank you, Kailyn and Abby, for being wonderful hosts today.
Thanks, Lauren.